Have you ever dreamt of running your own Airbnb business or, just having a few Airbnbs of your own? I know you've heard of Airbnb. Matter of fact, I personally like to stay in Airbnbs most of the time when I'm traveling. Only because I don't need all of the things that the hotels have to offer, and I don't want to pay these resort fees on things that I'm not ever going to use. So imagine this, you have a few Airbnbs, you live in a big city or a decent sized city, and tourists are flying in every day and they're looking for this home away from home type experience. And they're gonna book with you. Things are changing. Have you heard about the Airbnb and the short-term rental game laws changing all across different American cities? Like you name it, from LA all the way to Boston, they're tightening these regulations and they're changing the way you have to operate, own, and use Airbnb. But nowhere is more evident than the heart of it all, good old New York City. You see, New York City recently changed its laws early this year, and Airbnb even took them to court. They were like, listen, you can't do this. The rules that you're putting in are absolutely crazy. And then a judge recently dismissed the case and says, no, this lawsuit's not going anywhere. So starting September 5th, New York City is gonna start enforcing the laws that it passed early this year. So that means every single Airbnb unit has to be registered with the mayor's task force office by September 5th, or you're no longer gonna be able to operate as an Airbnb.
Here's some rules New York City is about to enforce. Rule number 1 is you can't rent out your apartment for less than 30 days. Is that even short term? Also, you can't rent your entire apartment if you're not also staying in the apartment with your guests. And on top of that, you can't have more than 2 guests. I mean, that's essentially destroying the Airbnb short-term game. So imagine you having an actual apartment that you can no longer rent out because you can't fit in the rules. And if you violate these rules, I heard that the penalty and the fines you would have to pay would just be enormous and it wouldn't even be worth taking the risk. So what's the solution?
It's not just America that's changing. Matter of fact, there's cities all across the world that's actually rethinking the way that they're gonna be approaching this short-term rental game. You got Paris, Barcelona, Amsterdam, just to name a few. But while the West tightens up, the East is opening up and Dubai enters the chat. Dubai recently held an event called Expo 2020, which I think was a couple months long. My wife and I actually came here back then like a year and a half. And it was an amazing event showing off different countries in the world. It was something you just had to experience. But during that time, there was 24 million visitors to Dubai. Now, Dubai took advantage of that and was able to show everybody the utopia, and it kind of bled into more and more people thinking and actually moving here, like myself. So let's get back to talking about Airbnb and short-term rentals. You see, Dubai is known for making things easier, just the process and the systems that they set up. And what they've seen with the world, that everybody is kind of moving away from short-term rentals, and with their desires to grow tourism higher and higher, Dubai is known for making hard things easy. That's just what they do. And they did the same exact thing when it comes to registering what they call holiday homes, short-term rentals, or Airbnbs with the actual city. And it's pretty simple. Every holiday home or Airbnb short-term rental has to have a license, right? But that licensing process is actually pretty simple. You go to the website, you put all your information in, whether it's your passport, your Emirates ID, you create an account, you pay the fee. Once they approve it, you're done. And you're registered and you're ready to go. And there's so many other companies here that can help you like manage it and so on and so forth. But you could also do it from yourself, from remote, because technology is just crazy. But that process that they've taken, that is kind of what New York City is making hard, they're doing the complete opposite and making it easy for you to register your Airbnb. And they actually invite it. They have like incentives and initiatives to grow the amount of registered short-term vacation rental property holiday homes they have here, because they're spending so much money marketing and advertising and bringing tourists coming to Dubai, and it only makes sense that they're able to provide them with a bed to sleep in. Yeah, they're building more and more hotels, but to keep up with the demand, they're gonna need more and more holiday homes, and that's where they come in and say, we need to make this process easy. So one of the big differences between the American real estate market and the Dubai real estate market market is that most of the properties actually sold in Dubai are what they call off-plan, meaning that you purchase this property prior to it being built and you pay for it on a payment plan during the actual construction phase. Doesn't really make much sense, do you? Today, I'm actually at Urban Properties office and I'm gonna show you exactly what I mean. Come on. All right, so let me show you a project that they just launched, and I'm gonna give you a real life example of what it's like buying an Airbnb here in Dubai. So this is called Vibe at Business Bay. This is a 730 square foot, 1-bedroom apartment in a tower-like building, right? So this is roughly around $1,900 a square foot, and this is gonna cost you somewhere between $375,000. But remember when I said you don't pay for it all at once and you buy it before it's actually constructed? So what happens is on the actual interest that you book this property, you're gonna pay around $10,000. And then the rest is divided up into payments that I'm gonna show you on screen over the rest of the construction. But there's something even more amazing I gotta tell you about this. So that unit is somewhere right here. It's 730 square feet, somewhere around $370,000. Now let me explain what's different and how they do it here. So like I said, on the actual booking of the apartment, you're gonna pay around 10 grand, right? And I have the numbers here so it makes sense. And then you're gonna pay another 10% on the day of launch, and then 30 to 60 days after that, you're gonna pay another 10%. And then after that, every 4 months, you're gonna pay about 5%. So during the construction phase of this building, while this building's being built, you're gonna pay about 40% of the entire cost. Now, at that point, you're gonna get what you call an NOC, Notice of Compliance, where you can basically, at this point, you're allowed to resell this property to somebody else so they can continue paying and you walk away with the profits. But let's stick with the Airbnb scenario here. So you're gonna pay for this property, you're gonna pay for $370,000 during the time of the construction over a 2-year period, which is pretty cool because you can't get a 1-bedroom in New York City for 300, brand new 1-bedroom with pool, all that stuff for $370,000. So you buy this and then you turn it into an Airbnb once it's done. And that's in Business Bay. And I got a lot of stats from AirDNA on exactly how much money you can make with this unit. Roughly somewhere around $5,000 to $7,000 a month this unit's gonna bring in. Now keep in mind that Dubai has a seasonality to it, meaning that in the hot summer months, which is about 4 months out of the year, your booking's gonna go down, but for the rest of the year, you're somewhere around 75, 80% in occupancy rate, which is pretty good. And you guys can check out that information yourself. But this is what I mean. You buy this over a 2-year period, making these payments, and then you join the Airbnb gang. And a lot of people are doing that, but investors are also booking several of these, paying 40%, and then reselling it and making about, let's do the math here. They're reselling it and making about 45% on their money just at paying 40%. So the return is there, and if they go all the way to completion and the market does well and it goes to market rent, so the market price per square foot is around $2,200 a square foot. So if you wait till completion, you can get somewhere around 75% return on your money if you can get the market square foot on this property. But those are the reasons why Dubai real estate market is kind of unique to the rest of the world, is you're buying things off plan and you're able to sell them midway through paying for it and reap the profits while the developer keeps building. And if you go all the way to the end, you can turn these into Airbnbs or even long-term rentals, which has spiked about 17% over the last year here in Dubai. It's absolutely crazy. So if you're thinking about getting to the short-term rental game, or New York's new laws and regulations are squeezing you out of the Airbnb, Dubai may be the city for you. They got awesome payment plans, they got nice regulation, and the demand is high. So if you want to learn more about this, I'll put more information, particularly about this community, in the link below. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.